Ladies and gentlemen, dear friends and colleagues across Europe, I believe that there could be no better setting to raise the keynote question than this symposium taking place in this eminent institution. Singing is the most original and natural human expression and certainly the most ancient element of music education. The heritage of the Liszt Academy reaches worldwide, and in one way or another, we are all carriers of its legacy. It is an honor and a pleasure to be here. Thank you very much for having invited every one of us to come to Budapest. Excuse me? Is there a problem? You don't hear? Okay. Did you hear the introduction? Very important, because it's about this place and its legacy and its heritage. Challenges and perspectives, like problems and solutions, are always interlinked and interdependent. In the context of this keynote, the word challenge stands for a demanding or stimulating situation, and the word perspective signifies prospect or the ability to see the accurate point of view. The concepts formal, non-formal and informal appear in international discourse on education policy since the early 1970s. However, in the context of music education, their systematic use is much more recent and can be seen as related to the concept of lifelong learning. Of course, we currently make reference to these three educational settings, but I am not always sure that we have a shared understanding about their definitions in general, and particularly in the context of music education. Therefore, let me go back to the origins and give you some reliable information about the context and the framework which concern every one of us. The point of departure was actually the world educational crisis in the late 1960s, and the conclusion that formal education had adapted too slowly to the socio-economic changes around us. The big change should come not only from formal schooling, but from the wider society, and planners and economists of the World Bank began to make a distinction between different forms and types of learning. At about the same time, in 1972, UNESCO published a report entitled Learning to Be, the World of Education Today and Tomorrow. This so-called fall report concluded that the educational apparatus as then did not satisfy the needs and aspirations of man and societies. Therefore, a renewal of the educational systems was required. Another major milestone was the UNESCO Commission on Education for the 21st Century, chaired by Jacques Delors. Its final report from 1996, entitled Learning, the Treasure Within, has become a key reference on the conceptualization of education and learning. The report presents a holistic vision for education worldwide and defines the four pillars of learning: learning to be, to know, to do, and to live together. In this light, education is considered in its social setting, the tasks of formal and non-formal education are reviewed, and requirements are defined for an education capable of tapping into the rich learning potential of every individual. Just listen to the beautiful definition of the first of these four pillars and think of music education. Learning to be may be interpreted as learning to be human through acquisition of knowledge, skills, and values conducive to personality development in its intellectual, moral, cultural, and physical dimensions. This implies a curriculum aiming at cultivating qualities of imagination and creativity, acquiring universally shared human values, developing aspects of a person's potential, memory, reasoning, aesthetic sense, physical capacity, and communication and social skills, developing critical thinking and exercising independent judgment, and developing personal commitment and response. The next milestones, extremely important for us, were the two first UNESCO World Conferences on Arts Education, 2006 in Lisbon, Portugal, and 2010 in Seoul, South Korea. The outcome and final documents of these conferences give definitions and recommendations to regenerate and transform educational systems worldwide through arts education. And music is, of course, a crucially important part of arts education. I don't need to tell you that. Yesterday afternoon, there was actually a very interesting and informative panel discussion on the Seoul Agenda and the Bonn Declaration, which is the adaptation of the Seoul Agenda by the European Music Council to music education. Let me just remind you of the main elements of these two documents, which are real working tools for us and concern all three educational settings. This slide, taken from Simone Tuut's excellent article, shows the three main development goals for arts education as defined by the Seoul Agenda and taken up by the Bonn Declaration for music education. First, the access to education, then the quality of the education, and finally, the socio-cultural challenges and responsibility related to the education. As you can see, and as everybody can understand, these three goals are highly interlinked, and it should not be difficult to recognize their relevance in any working area or educational environment. In a few concise pages, these two documents deliver us a concrete plan of action with strategies and recommendations to be implemented. I have used them in the latest years in regional, national, or international capacity building seminars, conferences, and other events, and every time I was astonished about their substantial and federative power and their practicalness in working groups to produce good results in a short time. Please use them. They exist already in many languages, and they can very easily be translated into other ones because it's only a few pages. Incredible but true. But let us come back to the learning environments. The tripartite categorization of education and learning systems can be diversely approached and has been defined in many different ways. According to the literature on this topic, all definitions can be contested, and there is a lot of crossover. However, the broader recognition of the concept of lifelong learning has given more clarity to the discourse. In order to compare and understand constantly evolving education systems worldwide, UNESCO has established an international standard classification of education in 1976. Its recent revision from 2011 covers formal and non-formal education programs offered at any stage of a person's life. Therefore, I shall give you the definitions contained in this document. When following, please keep in mind your own teaching, learning, and music-making contexts and see which features you can or cannot recognize in these definitions, because they are really not cut in stone. Formal education. Institutionalized education occurs, according to the UNESCO definition, when an organization provides structured educational arrangements such as student-teacher relationships and/or interactions that are specially designed for education and learning. And, interestingly enough, according to this definition, this education is also intended for all age groups with program content and qualifications that are equivalent to those of initial education. This opens doors. Non-formal education is, of course, a complement to the formal one, also institutionalized and planned by an education provider. All ages, but not necessarily a continuous pathway structure, mostly leads to qualifications that are not recognized, but, read this, can give access to a higher degree of education if validated. Informal learning is defined as you can read. It is also intentional and deliberate, not institutionalized, self-directed, family-directed, socially directed, less organized than the others, but can be distinguished from incidental or random learning, which may occur as a byproduct of day-to-day activities, events, or communication that are not designed as deliberate educational or learning activities. To gain some more insight, let us look at the following table by T. Simpkins, a British researcher who analyzed non-formal education in terms of purposes, timing, content, delivery systems and control, and contrasted these with formal educational programs. In my opinion, these ideal type models are still valid and provide a useful framework in the context of music education, which may help us define our own place in the bigger picture. I know that there are people in this hall who are researchers and you might have another opinion. I would like to discuss this because I am a musician, I am not a researcher, but I think these things concern everyone of us. So I will just let you take knowledge of this table. And what stands out for me is the extent to which non-formal education programs remain within a curricular form of learning, even though they emphasize flexibility, responsiveness and localness. I think we are very close to many institutions and structures where music education is delivered and where, let's say, organized music making happens. Now, we are still in this information part. What do we actually know about formal music education in Europe, which of course takes place in regular schools and in higher education universities? Since the creation of the European higher education area, starting from the Bologna Declaration in 1999, there is quite a lot of comprehensive and comparable data available on higher music education. This is not the case regarding primary and secondary educational levels. However, there is a publication in the Eurydice network of the European Commission called Arts and Cultural Education at School in Europe from 2009. This document contains comparative information on the provision of artistic and cultural education within the curricula of 30 European countries. In all these countries, the arts as a curriculum area are compulsory at the primary level and in nearly all countries at the lower secondary level as well. The curriculum area includes some, but not necessarily all, of the following subjects: visual arts, music, crafts, drama, dance, media arts and architecture. All countries include music and visual arts as a compulsory curriculum part, and these two are also the most widespread arts subjects. In about half of the countries, each art subject is considered separately, while in the other half they are conceived together as an integrated area of study. The name of such an integrated school subject can be expressive education, artistic orientation, aesthetic education, or music, art and image. At first sight, the compulsory position of music in the curriculum may seem reassuring, which should not be surprising, taking into consideration that music education is deeply rooted into the European humanistic tradition and has a very long history and organization and teachers training. However, there is a difference between the conception of the curriculum and the reality, that is the actual teaching time given to music. Many European regions, localities and schools have a certain degree of autonomy in the curriculum design, which is basically a positive development. However, this makes the interpretation of statistics even more tricky than it is anyway. Let me just give you a concrete example from my home canton in the French-speaking Switzerland called Vaud, with 750,000 inhabitants and nearly 90,000 children in compulsory schooling. In the primary school curriculum, the subject music occupies 2 obligatory hours out of 28, but in many schools one part or all of these hours are actually used for other school subjects. The reason for this is the lack of primary teachers' competencies to teach music, and this is unfortunately the case in other countries as well. According to the Eurydice study, arts education in primary schools is mostly delivered by generalist teachers who teach all or most curriculum subjects. Arts pedagogy is included in the professional teachers' training, as well as some training in more than one arts subjects. But in reality, this artistic training can amount to next to nothing. At the University of Teachers Education in Lausanne, the capital of my home canton, the music training amounts to a maximum of 12 hours per study year. In the past, it used to be 150 hours per year. This is appalling, and quite frankly, which honest teacher would give 2 hours of music per week with this kind of training, unless there are good partnerships with the school and other partners, or unless this person is a musician anyway. In lower secondary education, of course, the teachers are specialized. But their educational task is very difficult because most children's background in music is so weak and their musical sensibilization has not been awakened during the precious childhood years. I dearly hope there are exceptions to this sad reality, which I observe in many countries, that formal schooling does not provide productive and sustainable music education anymore. Therefore, democratic and wide access to music education, which only compulsory schooling can globally ensure, is not available in today's societies. What a paradox, anyway. Music to be downloaded and consummated is available to everybody in today's world like it was never before, but access to music education and music practice is in serious danger. This is certainly one of the biggest challenges we are facing, not only in Europe but worldwide, and we should tackle it with determination and in coordinated and concentrated efforts. In this context, it is evident that the role and responsibility of extracurricular music education is growingly and crucially important. Unfortunately, there is no observatory providing comprehensive information about this European music education sector. We know that there are associations for choirs, orchestras, music teachers, competitions, etc. Altogether, if they wish and decide to do so, they might one day form the observatory, which doesn't exist because we need data. But some of these organizations can already provide reliable and useful information today. One of these associations is the European Music School Union, EMU, which has over years largely mapped after-school music education delivered in music schools. This umbrella organization, founded in 1973, covers 24 national music school associations with 6,000 schools, 150,000 teachers, 3 million learners under 25 years, and 1 million adult learners. In the EMU context, a music school is a clearly defined institution with an integral part in the European educational system. Music schools are mostly attended by children and youngsters, but as a rule are also open to adults up to senior age. They offer education and training from early childhood up to preparation for professional studies. As you might expect, music school systems, pedagogical principles and practices, teaching methods and cooperation models are extremely diverse in Europe. Even if most music schools fall into the category of non-formal learning, a few countries or regions in Europe have clearly formal music schools where music education and general education is given in the same institution. On the other side, some countries favor pure hobby schools with broad access and without curricula, exams, or clearly defined learning outcomes. And in federal states like Switzerland, many different models coexist and function in the same country. Since 2000, EMU collects statistics providing substantial information and a good insight into different ways in which music schools operate and function in Europe. We have also mapping, research surveys, publications, of course events like every one of us where we meet each other. Over and over again we discover that despite the diversity, the preoccupations, questions and hot topics are surprisingly similar wherever we look at in Europe. This global picture gives us a fair overview of major challenges and opportunities at European level. Therefore, let me share with you the following presentation about the most important challenges and perspectives defined by EMU members in the latest few years. Let this be the voice of the EMU in this singing symposium. Actually, these challenges and opportunities can be focused on the delicate balance between quality and equality. In the English language, only one word separates one or the other, and we thought maybe there is not one without the other, and vice versa. Just look at the definitions, dictionary definitions of these two words. A reminder, statistical reminder of the EMU. We are growing. There will be more than 24 countries. And the statistics. The wonderful picture comes from Sweden. Our general assemblies and annual conferences with their working groups are the think tank of the EMU. In Tallinn 2011, we made a SWOT analysis at European level, prepared of course by the national associations. We summarized them in a few sentences. Here are the strengths as the EMU members saw them. In one sentence, weaknesses, opportunities. There are a lot of them. and of course threats. The following year, 2012, we met in Regione and we decided that if we don't change anything, nothing will ever change. So we took the 3 development goals of the Seoul Agenda, defined the challenges and perspectives in light of these development goals. Here they are, and these are the challenges and perspectives, according to your point of view, related to the 3 goals together. Then we took goal by goal. I just let you read. Quality. What is quality? The teachers are the keys, or the education providers, or the parents. Access and quality together. There is tension between access and quality, between quality and equality. No fast food in music education. The social challenges: come out of the box, develop consciousness, be in the network, in partnerships, guarantee the diversity, break up if needed the current systems, not only to break them, find ways to be a part of solutions to these problems. And finally, we gave us homework. Reach the stakeholders, advocate, stimulate dialogue, exchange, partners, diverse partners, and develop cooperative structures, specific solutions for each country and region. There is no possibility to transfer models as such from one country to another, I think. And be self-conscious, provide the services that you have for the society. We need for this research, monitoring, mapping, evaluation, consultation, dialogue, cooperation, and networks to share good practices. This is one of the reasons why we are here. I don't know if you can recognize and share these challenges and perspectives. I hope so. And if not, be my guest and make your own definitions and share them with the others in your own environment. Music education today is a truly global mission to be shared. It needs the contribution of every person, association, institution, and community involved in music education all over the place at local, regional, national, and international level. These educational categories are not cast in stone. Therefore, we have to find our place in the scheme, formal, non-formal, and informal, identify and define our role and mission in the big picture and do it with the others. If we want to develop music education, a sectorial approach is not sufficient. Today, global approach is needed. Come out of your box, meet the others, campaign and advocate together, but at the same time, define, recognize, and know who you are. We should never deny or lose our own identities and values, and when we refer to arts education, the aim should be unity in diversity and not something diffused, nameless, or misshapen. When engaging in diverse partnerships, the so-called 10 world alphas, or pillars of quality, defined by the researcher Anne Bamford, are a good guide for quality programs, regardless of the context in which they operate. Let me remind you that Anne Bamford conducted for UNESCO a worldwide research on the impact of the arts within global education, the outcome of which is the referential publication Wow Factor from 2006. In our global educational task, the EU culture program and policies can and do help us. Without the Voice project, we would not be here today. Creative Europe 1420 invites networks to come closer together in cooperation and strategic partnerships. This is why I am here on behalf of the EMU. In light of lifelong learning, the recognition by the EU of the growing importance of non-formal and informal learning can give us strong arguments to advocate for public funding and political support in our communities. Advocacy is a never-ending task, and musicians and music educators should engage in politics, even if it's heavy and time-consuming, because it can bring unexpected results. Let me, to finish, just give you an example from Switzerland. This country with its strange system of direct folk democracy, A music-loving country where the amateur and professional music sectors are large and powerful. Nevertheless, we have the same problems as all over the place. And this is why, about 10 years ago, the then chairman of the Swiss Music School Association, engaged in politics, got this crazy idea to launch a federal popular initiative on behalf of quality music education in public schools, music schools, and for young talents. I'm not going to describe the political system to get to the aim, but the boldest idea, the boldest utopia of the initiators was to raise once and for all a national and mediatic debate on the value and needs of music education. But the result went way beyond. In September 2012, the Swiss people accepted this constitutional initiative with a majority of 73%. Now there is a new article in the Swiss constitution about quality music education in all settings, and it is actually implemented at a rapid tempo. The process has brought together the whole Swiss music sector because music education happens to be the only binding element between them all. Incredible but true. For me, this is not only an interesting case study, but the proof that not only music in itself, but music education in all its forms is important for every citizen in every country. Let us believe in it, campaign for it, and unite our forces. Thank you very much.